What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with a brand new list. It's been a few weeks, but I am finally here with my modern horror film countdown. Now, when I say modern, that can be taken in many different ways, but I am talking super modern, so from 2010 to 2000 and now. I am doing this list in honor of A Quiet Place, which I will be seeing tomorrow. I do think that has the possibility of cracking this list in the future, but as for right now, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't put it on there, but I cannot wait to watch it and review it tomorrow night. We are going to take a look at my top 10 favorites, and not top 10, okay, which one do I think is the best horror film? Which one do I think has the most scares? No, I went on to IMDb, I looked at movies that had horror in the genre title, and I ranked them according to which ones I enjoy watching the most. So this is such a broad list. It is so personal. I know you guys are going to have completely different lists. Put that in the comment section down below. I want to see your list. Maybe there's some movies on there that I haven't seen before, and trust me, there are a lot. There are so many low-budget horror films that I have yet to get a chance to look at. Raw, The Devil's Candy, Hush, 3 movies that I know for a fact could be on this list, but they're movies that I just haven't gotten around to watch. And I do sincerely apologize for that. I tried to include movies that I've watched recently, so films that I've rewatched in the last 2 or 3 years, so I could get a good feel of what do I like, what do I not like, which movies belong on this very, very prestigious. Nah, it's not prestigious, but this is important to me because I love horror movies. At number 10 is, I believe, the only Netflix movie to make it on this list, and that is Geralds Game. Now, Hush is a movie that I didn't get a chance to watch. I feel like that will be on here because the premise alone intrigues me very much. But Geralds Game was a film that I just didn't expect to be as good as it was. It's based off of a Stephen King novel. It's directed by Mike Flanagan, who has done good things in the past, but I just did not expect to get the thrills and the scares out of Geralds Game that I ended up getting. Now, I have a problem with the ending. I think the last 10-15 minutes gave me some issues, and it brought the movie down a little bit farther than I wanted it to be. It's not in my top 20 of last year, but it is really good, and that's the thing. It takes you on this journey. It's really focused on one character. You are with Carla's character throughout the entire movie. You are horrified, and then when you see the monster, the creature, I'm not going to say what it is, but when you see that thing's face at the end, that really stuck with me for a few weeks after watching. It's a horror film that took me on a journey and scared me. It's a great reason to be number 10 on my list. Next up is a movie that would have been higher if I wouldn't have rewatched some of these other movies, but The Conjuring 2 is nothing to scoff at. After the success and the utter amazingness that was The Conjuring, how could a sequel come out and deliver something that is not just solid, but really good? Well, guess what? James Wan did that. He delivered a movie that I think doesn't measure up to the original in terms of this is amazing, but it does measure up in terms of we got a really good sequel, something that I honestly didn't expect because a lot of times horror sequels come out, they're nowhere near as good, and people just accept it. Well, guess what? So far, we have gotten 2 really good Conjuring movies. I love following the Warren family around. This time, we are in London. We get so many great camera movements and scares and thrills along the way, and then the ending I thought was really well done. I haven't rewatched this movie in a few years, but I need to watch it again, see how it should place on this list, but as of right now, number 9, I really love the Conjuring series. Next up is Don't Breathe, a film that I literally had no expectations for because I just thought this premise is so good that they have to completely mess this up. And guess what? They didn't. After watching this movie, I said Stephen Lang needs to be Cable because he has... Ouch! I hit my hand. Because he has all of the qualities in this film to be the perfect Cable. He is menacing, he is scary, he provides every single scare you get in this film, and that inserts the horror into this what would otherwise be a thriller film. Sure, there's some weird acting choices and that little twist at the end a lot of people don't like, but as a horror fan, this is pure horror. Sure, it's very uncomfortable, but I really liked what they did at the end. Don't Breathe is a very rewatchable film. Next up is a movie that I find myself rewatching over and over, and it really does get better with age, and that is Insidious. Directed by the one and only James Wan, who just continues to crank them out like they are nothing. I really haven't hated an Insidious film so far, but I still think the first one is just so good and so rewatchable. Patrick Wilson is good as always. I feel like he thrives in these horror films. I love Lin Shaye. I love when they go into the further. I love how the story progresses and the end is so scary. When you see that red demon face, it's what makes this a very solid horror film. I don't think it's as strong as some of the films that I have talked about already in terms of filmmaking, but the horror really brings it up and puts it at this spot on my list. Okay, I said I went on to IMDb, I looked at what had horror in the genre, and this movie had horror in the genre, so don't laugh at me when I say Split is next up on my list. Sir, it's not the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it really does have those elements, especially towards the end, and then you get that twist that everybody talks about, oh my gosh, it's amazing, unless you haven't seen the movie that provides the twist that came out in 2000. But even without that, I enjoyed this movie so much. James McAvoy gives so many good performances. I can't just say one because he has all these personalities, but it really is scary at times. The way that M. Night Shyamalan films this movie, I have to give him props. He's made some terrible, terrible films, but I do think this gives Signs a run for its money. I can't put Signs on this list because it came out before 2010, but you get it. Another shocker, one that I don't think you guys expect because a lot of people don't look at this as a horror movie, but guess what? Once again, it's in there. 10 Cloverfield Lane. I love this movie. Now, I watched it, I get to the ending, the last 10-15 minutes. It didn't feel right. I don't know what to think about it still to this day after 4 watches, but the journey leading up to that, it is pure thriller, pure horror. And don't get me wrong, I love demons, I love spirits, but when you can get a scary movie that's scary because of people, because of what a person is doing, such as Don't Breathe or 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think that's the best kind of horror, and this is not like jump scare, oh my gosh, in your face horror. It's just a scary situation to think about. I think about 10 Cloverfield Lane, I feel really uncomfortable. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead is great, and John Goodman, I still, to this day, I say this is his best performance. I don't know why he didn't get nominated, or at least looked at that year, because he was fantastic. Austin, you're not putting movies that are scary on this list. These are more thrillers. Well, guess what? We've come to number 4, and that is The Babadook. Watch this movie and tell me you don't get scared. Watch it. I dare you. Okay, it's not going to scare everybody, but it did scare me because I watched this with my friend in college a few years ago, and oh my goodness, if I did not want to watch it again immediately because it scared me and it affected me that much. This is such a low-budget horror movie. It's an Australian horror film, which I find very interesting, but it scared the living daylights out of me. The creature, the ending, the way that it comes together, and just the weird nature to it and how it ends, I'm like, all right, that's messed up. Austin, this movie's not scary. It didn't scare you in the theater. Why is it on this list? Because it's such a good movie. I could not put it on this list. And sure, it didn't scare the daylights out of me, but I'm not afraid of clowns. And if you are afraid of clowns, I could see how this could scare the daylights out of you. That's why it's number 3 on this list. I loved every stinking second of it. I think it's a great movie. I wasn't horrified throughout the entire film, which is honestly something that I kind of wanted. And in that aspect, sure, I was a little disappointed, but I look at the movie as a whole and how well it was crafted, how relatable these kids were, and how good the acting was. I can't not put it this high on this list, and yes, it is a horror film because that clown, Pennywise, the dude's just freaky looking. I love it. I know it has its haters out there, and if you don't like this movie, I completely understand that, but this thing took me on a journey, it wrapped me up, and I really enjoyed myself. Okay, now this could be my most controversial movie. I know I continue to say that, and this is my list, my choices, even though people are still going to get mad at me, but I have Get Out at number 2. Now, hear me out. Get Out is not scary. Get Out, I don't consider a pure horror film. It has many different aspects to it. It's funny at times. It's a thriller at times. And I've even went up to people and said, no, Get Out is not a scary movie. Go watch it because of the adventure and the journey it takes you on and the way that they craft their characters. So, am I a hypocrite for putting it on this list? Maybe so. But when you get down to the bones of this movie and you get to that third act, yes, it is absolutely a horror film. Because, spoiler alert, what these people are doing to this poor main character and the many people that have come before him is absolutely horrifying. It's not in-your-face jump scare horror, but it is smart horror, crafted in a horrifying way, and at the snap of a finger, when these characters all turn at once, and you get to that bingo scene, you can't tell me that that isn't scary, because to me, it's horrifying the way these people are so nice and respectful to this young man, and then all of a sudden, they turn, and you see what they've been doing behind the scenes. That, to me, is horror. It's not jump scare. It's not in your face. It's not something that's going to make me petrified, but it's a great adventure. It's horrifying when you think of the themes behind this, and I'm putting it at number 2 on this list because it's just one of the best movies out there. And the more I watch it, the more I respect the filmmaking, and Jordan Peele did win an Oscar for this. I am so happy for him. Not just for him, but for horror films in general, because it just gets all eyes on this genre of film, and I love that. And my number one movie on this list, I've already talked about it. You guys know it's coming. You know how big of a fan I am of James Wan because I've said it over and over. I think The Conjuring is such a fantastic horror film. Everything that has made this list good so far, this movie has in one package. It's a great story, great characters, a good adventure, beautiful cinematography, a very cool turnout at the end. But the most important part of a horror film is the way that it makes you feel, and my goodness, this movie is just so scary. Not the most jump scares I've ever seen, not the most in-your-face moments, but the tension that is built throughout is perfection. Now, I know a lot of horror lovers that do not love this movie as much as I do, but I do think this is the best of both worlds. It's a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantastic filmmaking. You put that in one, you've got The Conjuring. I love these characters. I love the Warrens, and I think every single member of this family works. Great acting by the little girls, great acting by the little boys, the parents, and once again, the Warrens. This movie just has so many themes that come together beautifully. It was my favorite movie of 2013, and I am so happy that I was able to talk about it right now on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will be back with another list next week. I have something very special planned, and this weekend I will finally be getting to my Q&A, my question and answer to all the questions you guys left me on my 5,000 subscriber video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow night with a Quiet Place review. You guys are the absolute best, and I will catch you later.